morning, everyone. We have a lineup of really wonderful esteemed speakers from top projects here today, and we'll be talking about everything AI, from agents, infra, models, data, everything. So, we won't really just be scratching the surface. We're trying to go deep into the real questions. And, before we start off the Q&A, let's just kick off with a very brief self-introduction about who we are, who we represent, and yeah, what we're building in the AI space. Okay, so maybe I'll just start first. I'm GK Genkai. I represent DFG. We're a Web3 VC based in Singapore. We're sector agnostic, and we have about 1 billion AUM. We invest in multiple AI projects as well. We're investors in, for example, we're investors in Render. So if you're looking for funding, feel free to reach out and pass the mic over.
Hey everybody, good morning. My name is Matthew Kirsten. I'm the lead DevRel engineer at ZetaChain. ZetaChain is the next iteration beyond Omnichain and Multichain, and we like to call those universal applications. So connecting anything to anything, including Solana, Ton, Bitcoin, Sui, all the new latest, greatest ecosystems are compatible with ZetaChain. And we like to build more universal applications. There really isn't a ton of AI. We have one test use case for AI on ZetaChain. And after a panel like today, we're definitely going to have many more.
Hey everybody, my name is Cameron Dennis. I've been building with Near for the last 5 years, currently on Near AI, where I manage integrations, partnerships, and investments, really focused on 2 very large initiatives. One's called Decentralized Confidential Machine Learning. We'll unpack that a bit more. The other one's all focused on agent-agent communication and payments called AITP. These are 2 very large umbrella projects that have a lot of small startups sort of facilitating different parts of them. And so I work with all of them to, make them work. And so, that's the quick TLDR.
Hello, everyone. My name is George. I'm the strategic advisor and partnership lead at Zero Gravity, or OG for the Europeans. Zero Gravity is building the world's largest AI L1. And we have 3 core components that we bundle in what we call a decentralized AI operating system. The 3 components are the fastest, cheapest data storage network. The second is the fastest data availability network. And the third is a decentralized service marketplace for inferencing and fine-tuning. So we're on testnet now. We have a lot of interesting and exciting updates coming soon. And happy to get into it here.
Hi, hello everyone. So I'm Kamesh, one of the co-contributors of OpenLedger. So OpenLedger is all about like a chain which is built specifically for AI. So especially general blockchains, we all know that it is not specifically designed for AI use cases. This OpenLedger is help you to collect the data, like think like a scale AI, data pipelining tools to collect the data and then like fine tuning and launch the model so that people can build agents on top of it. So the whole idea of OpenLedger, the interesting concept is like around proof of attribution. So making model more explainable and transparent. So that is a key feature what we carry. Yeah. Anyway, I'll keep explaining more about that in the next panels.
All right, thank you. Let's kick off the Q&A. So each of our projects actually supports a different part of the on-chain AI stack, from model training to agents, execution, and even cross-chain infra, right? So which part of the stack are you most focused on today? And how does it interact with the other parts of the stacks?
Yeah, I can take this. So in order to facilitate decentralized AI on any database, it's going to need a scale, like really, really well, with real users, with real demand. And so this is what Near's been focused on for the last about 5-6 years. We currently have about 40 million weekly active users. Transaction time is, block time is about, finality is 800 milliseconds. Like this is the type of experience one needs to actually make blockchains completely invisible. And so that was like the first piece, make sure a database can scale. Second piece is all agents and users are not going to care about what blockchain they're using. They just want to use apps that work. And so the second focus is making sure that blockchains can be completely invisible from each other on chain abstraction. So this is all facilitated through I'm sorry for the jargon, but a programmable multi-party computation network, MPC network, where you're able to manage a Near account and transact across every other blockchain that supports the same signature scheme as other chains. So interoperability normally happens at the virtual machine level, EVM for Ethereum, SVM for Solana. We go one layer deeper, enabling interoperability at the signature scheme level. And that's what's going to make this completely invisible from each other. And so I'd say like those are the two main core focuses for now. And then when it comes to actual like blockchain or like AI training, we don't need that does not need to be done on chain. That will never work.
Yeah, so from Zero G's perspective, bringing AI on chain, there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built out. So last year, we were focused mainly on the data availability, and we were able to achieve, almost 5,000 to 50,000, depending on how you measure it, times faster than the current DA solutions. Data availability for fully on-chain AI, even fully on-chain gaming, for example, needs speeds in the gigabytes per second, and the current DA solutions are in 10 to 20 megabytes per second. So that was the first unlock. The second unlock is decentralized storage network. So if you want to store things on chain, AI models, data sets, things like that, even AI agent networks, the costs have to come down significantly and the speeds have to be, way up leveled. And so zero G storage, for example, we did some testing a few weeks ago and we got 2 gigabytes per second in throughput. So this should be the fastest cold storage network in the space. So we're really excited about that. And then when you talk about costs, we were able to do a sharding mechanisms for the storage network through our storage nodes, and we were able to reduce the costs up to 80% less than AWS. So we think it's a great value unlock. We have over 360 to 370 projects building with Zero G. I would say the number one integration point is our storage network, actually. And then when we talk about decentralized inferencing and fine tuning, it is a good point, right? What is the point of doing these things? Well, when you talk about OpenAI and you see all the issues that occur with the alignment problem, Zero G is really aiming at solving that by putting on chain and make everything provable and make everything transparent so that you know where the model weights and biases are. You know if there is a central authority that's actually making decisions on your behalf. And so, this provable inference, provable training is something that we are really working on. We think, blockchain is not there yet, but zero G is going to usher in that era of decentralized training.
So we always used to say that without data attribution, decentralization is not make sense, because whatever we do in terms of inference and whatever possibilities of performance, the important part of AI is data, right? And so we all know there is every Web2 companies try to scrape our websites or information to whatever which is available in public, and then they utilize and make revenue out of it, right? So that is because there is a fundamentally, even in a web 2, the technology wise data attribution is a big challenge. So they themselves not able to figure out which data is really influencing the model or the particular inference. If you ask a particular query, it will answer you sometime for the same question it will answer a different answer. So it's all because of it will hallucinate. There is no any accountability for a AI model to see, okay, I can make decision based on this answer, because for right now we are using ChatGPT and other platform. We are using for content and communications and everything. That is fine. Imagine like if you're going to have a healthcare model, right? If it is completely non-auditable and then it's a black box, very similar to ChatGPT, so it's going to be a problem, right? Because all we fully focused last couple of years for research on the data attribution. So where we who contributing the data, so they have to get rewarded if the data are quite useful if it is used inside the model. So that is our core thesis. I think we able to succeed on that. So we were able to work with a lot of enterprises on model explainability. So we work with one of the biggest commerce platform in the globe. So right, so they have a requirement on model explainability. They don't care about rewarding and other kind of factors. So enterprise don't care about that, but the major part for them is to keeping your model more explainable. If you type a query, it answers something, and then what is the file which is influencing the particular answer? They want to figure out that. So that is what we are working with a lot of enterprises. Yeah, thank you.
I'll go ahead and answer that question just a little bit differently. At Zeta Chain, we're really focusing on the developer experience. And what we're noticing is that there are many developers, especially in 2025, that are AI first developers, what you guys know as vibe coders, right? So how do we create an ecosystem that's curated towards these type of developers who are using AI agents on a daily basis, who have infrastructure that's AI, that are using various different models to generate code? And how we've done that is we did a partnership with Bolt.new, and Bolt.new is helping us build our own distro flavor for our vibe coders so that they can integrate their AI tool stack and their blockchain and their application idea into one concept so that we can iterate what is AI going to look like for each blockchain, specifically with the developer in mind, so that they have a great user experience using the code, using the tools that they're comfortable with to really iterate as quickly as possible during our hackathons, during our events like EthCC.
Okay, thank you. And I think, AI infra, it comes with a lot of trade-offs when we talk about performance and cost. And I think, some of you have already mentioned about how you're optimizing these things. So how else, or rather, what other constraints are you guys still working on in order to optimize these different trade-offs that you're facing?
I think the most important aspect is ownership. I think coming into the Web3 space, decentralization is very important. So is ownership over your assets. And that's where a lot of the leakage is happening, is that people don't really understand that where their data is being shared, that's not so transparent just yet. And by using blockchain with our AI stack, it really helps control the ownership of, and also make it more transparent. What is, who owns what, where is the data stored, who has access to it. And you'll see new applications like yesterday, Warden, that pitched, where it's all about privacy and uncensored access to your AI. And I think concepts like that are really great and will continue to drive as more things are uncovered. There will be an increasing need for privacy and uncensored access.
So the first big umbrella project that I mentioned, decentralized confidential machine learning, I'm so sorry I did not make up that name, is it's all about verifiability. And so as we've heard before, you do want to make sure that you can verify that the weights, the sort of information that is powering your model is indeed real. Like if the result that you're getting back is not completely biased by, let's say your models, you're trying to create a cancer identification model, and all the data that you have is all with like trained by Pfizer. And then you ask the same model, hey, I feel these symptoms. What kind of medicine should I take? Well, more likely than not, it's going to recommend you a Pfizer-based medication. And so I want to know if my model that I'm using is trained with certain data. So I think it's less about decentralization and more about verifiability. And so I'd say like that's the number one on the infra side. But Lotus taking not necessarily infra focused. A big problem that we're working on is agent discoverability and security. Because if your agent is trying to connect with another agent, I want to make sure your agent is not going to leak my private keys. Which, by the way, I would highly, highly, highly recommend. Do not throw your private keys into an LLM right now. It's really stupid. Like, don't do it. There's a really high chance of a prompt injection attack where I'm able to convince this AI to give me your private key, and it's not that hard. So before we actually like truly address the security of AI to agent interaction, by the way, this is a problem that we're not all focused on. This is like Google's focused on this, NVIDIA's focused on this. It's not a new thing. Don't throw your private keys into an LLM.
Yeah, I agree. Don't do that. Also, on the verification side of things, what we've realized at Zero G is that it is costly to prove inferences on chain. And so, we initially experimented with ZK, and we thought, okay, ZK is all the hype. ZK can help us, and it'll be fast and efficient. Wasn't really the case. And so we realized TEEs, or trusted execution environments, is probably the way to go. It's almost 100x cheaper than ZK, and cheaper means faster in the inferencing side of things. And so that was a big unlock that I think Zero G was able to walk into because of the existing partners we have who are in the ZK space, who are in the TEE space. We were able to leverage a lot of our infra partners to really come to that final conclusion. And so our inferencing we are integrating TEEs. And that's something that we've optimized cost-wise. We are also working on the latency of the chain itself. We're at 2.5K TPS, so 2,500 TPS on our L1 EVM chain. Going to mainnet, we're hoping for closer to 5 to 10,000 TPS. And so we understand that for the average user, as long as it's faster than Solana, it should be good. We're going beyond that, right? So even our data availability is many times faster throughput than Solana. Our storage is much cheaper. They don't have a decentralized storage network inbuilt. And then now we're going to have these inferencing and fine-tuning marketplaces so that the community can even monetize their data participate in training processes, and we're trying to be a more inclusive L1 for AI developers and AI community members. And the main thing to understand is you don't need to be an AI expert to use Zero G's infra. If you go to our website, you can see how to simply integrate it. We follow a modular approach. And so this was a big cost savings as well, because no matter what chain you're on, you do not need to port your or bridge over to Zero G. You can tap into our storage, tap into our servicing, tap into our data availability, no matter what chain you're on. And so all the developers who are currently already building, they don't need to, wrap up shop and come to Zero G. We'd rather, you're welcome to stay where you are. You're welcome to come to Zero G, but the main thing is you can integrate quite easily.
So yeah, so we don't believe on this concept of on-chain models because it's not technically feasible, right? As you was pointed, it is always verifiability playing the role, like especially on the data attribution and those kind of things. I believe Web3 can play some role. Like it is, yeah, generally AI is a Web2 technology, right? It is not like born for Web3, not like our NFTs and other things. Like it is completely a Web2 technology. Only we can make it like trustworthy and verifiable and auditable. So that is what is possible using Web3. Just trying to build everything on chain and then everything is accountable. I don't think it won't make sense, and like the scale, like what we need is already we were struggling to scale. So I don't think we can have a on-chain models and those kind of stuff. But generally, the verifiability of the data, right? As long as we don't, I believe I don't care about the privacy, as long as if I'm get paid, right? Because our Twitter profile or Instagram, everything is public. People are watching our profile, all
It's
these
not public.
informations.
My profile is not public.
Sorry.
My Instagram profile is not public.
Yeah, maybe generally I'm saying like a lot of contents, whatever we post, people can browse and access. See my YouTube content, people are creating a lot of interesting content on YouTube. But the point what we say, it's all about as long as if I'm getting paid, right? I'm creating more content on YouTube, but I'm getting paid for that, right? I'm getting some, I'm able to monetize that. As long as if you're able to do that, I'm happy about that. Right? It is we believe that all the every developers or a data scientists and every can contribute more interesting data to the model if they have able to get some kind of reward from the model. I think that will really solve the major problem is what I feel.
Right. I think you guys have also talked about how you're making your solutions easier for the general public or for devs to actually adopt your solutions as well. And maybe let's just move on and talk about, since we're talking about the idea of verifiability, right? So privacy and attribution are pretty is the foundation, right, to real world AI. So how do each project enable data and model integrity, and what does verifiable execution actually look like within your stack?
Yeah. So on the TE side of things, this is not a new thing. Intel CPUs have had TEs on them since like 12. The big innovation is the fact that these TEEs, trusted execution environments, and again, you shouldn't have to care about all the jargon. It's just like what they do. It's essentially a black box that sits on the GPU. So you're able to encrypt something, put it inside the TE, unencrypt it, and have processing happen, and then re-encrypt it, and then take the information with the insights to the real world. That is all being done by NVIDIA. We are not doing a ton on that front. The only team that is really pushing this forward is called Follow Network. Follow Network is building new drivers to enable people to throw any type of something called a Docker image inside this trusted execution environment to process it. And that is in collaboration with Near to build this thing called the private ML SDK to facilitate this verifiable, really just like wrapping and execution. And by the way, the reason why this is so big right now is because all new NVIDIA H100s, H200s, and B100s, part of the Blackwell series, will have this by default. So it's going to be commoditized over time. And this is not coming from crypto land. This is because all of their enterprise partners want to verify on like their weights. And so we're really just borrowing a lot of that. And Ilya, the co-founder of Near, also co-wrote the paper that started the entire AI revolution today called "Attention is All You Need." We also all came to the same conclusion that TEs are probably the best and fastest approach to verify things on chain. And we're just putting an attestation on chain. That's it.
It's interesting that you mentioned Fala Network. You're talking about Dylan Kowalik and Fala Network. So probably last year we were working with IBM Z, to develop a TEE on their mainframe server. And the purpose for us at the time was when you're doing this fast iteration, building dApps in Web3, especially in like a Solana ecosystem, the rapid development, you need to protect your IP. You need to make sure that what it is that you're developing, the new innovation, is secure. And so having that black box, as you call it, I like to call it a plastic room. Basically, it's the safe room where your development is your own. It's not necessarily shared with everyone else. It's your own protected environment. It's a great place to keep secrets. It's a great place to keep development and to obviously, orchestrate your own operations, whether it's one enterprise or NVIDIA. It sounds like Near is using NVIDIA. Uh, the protection of the secrets was the most important aspect of that, to make sure that when you are using things like wallets and blockchains and sending things across the universe to make transactions, that your identity, your transaction, and your applications are secure. And so the TEE or ZK-TEE, whichever one they're using, makes that process possible. So think of it as like your own private server running in your own environment that no one else has access to unless they have that encryption key, right?
And as you highlighted, the developer experience historically has sucked. And so this is the main thing that followed.
This is very rabbit hole. You have to be really committed to even find these words. So having it, abstracting it away from the developer and making it just part of the process, the development environment as we build, I think is really important, because we've had to go so far to find out this information, to make this development possible, and everyone shouldn't have to, right? It should be there out of the box when we design these experiences.
Maybe I can add a couple of points. So what we do in terms of privacy. When we work with bigger enterprises, they are, let's say, if it's a big e-commerce company, they want to fine tune the model. The challenge comes on the lot of IPs, personal data, and those kind of things will naturally evolve, right? So where we use a synthetic data generation for that, de-anonymizing the entire data, like before training, we make sure other models verify and making sure that the data is. Of course, we have to use TA environment for it, but major idea is to verify the data and now make sure that completely de-anonymize the data before we fine tune that particular data to the model. So that is what we're practicing with other enterprise use cases.
Yeah, I wanted to just say something about, something else that Zero G is working on the verification. I know we've talked about TEEs, ZK, all of that. So one of the things that we've come up with is called the ERC 7857, or an intelligent NFT. So what we realized in the AI narrative, the AI meme cycle that happened just a few months ago, and it's maybe going to happen again, who knows, is that it wasn't really a way to prove ownership of AI agents. And even the coins, or the meme coins themselves, they're very loosely associated with the agent itself. And so we think the best way to, encapsulate the relationship between a coin and the agent, and the data that the agent is tapping into, is an NFT. And not the ERC 721 or the standard NFT, but the ERC 7857 standard, which we built. One of the benefits is that you can fractionalize the NFT and you can trade the NFT. And so you can own shares or own pieces of AI agents. When you buy a meme coin, you don't really own the agent. You're just owning a representation of the mind share that the agent has. And then what we can do now is, when you add wallets to agents, you can actually have agents own other agents by just purchasing NFTs. And so this is something that we're going to come out with. It's going to be part of our AI Verse AI Agent Launchpad that's coming out in a few months. We're going to have ability to prove the data, or prove the ownership of the agents, have agents own other agents. And I think verification of the data that all these agents are using, even the model version, even if there's malicious data injection, all of these things, if you use the blockchain for that, it's actually pretty impactful. And we've already seen, decentralized, inferencing and fine tuning, getting a nod of approval from more of the Web2 AI companies, where they say, we've tried it, doing it on our centralized servers, and we see that there is issues, with alignment. And so there is a nod of approval to go in the decentralized way, but we're still, as an industry, a little bit behind Web 2. And so hopefully, we can all work together and collaborate to bring that to fruition.
All right. In the interest of time, I'm just gonna combine the last two questions for everybody to to talk about. So the first thing is, what's the Spice's take on AI right now, right? And the second part is also just to talk a little bit more about your project. What is one upgrade, integration, or product that you're most excited that recently shipped or is about to?
I'll start on that one. Once again, I'd just like to iterate. So there's something going on right now called the world's largest hackathon. It started with Bolt.new, which is an AI vibe coding website. But Algorand, I think, as well, and now Zeta Chain are both partners to basically be part of this world's largest hackathon and creating our own flavor or distro of Bolt.new so that we can start iterating that SDK. This is my spicy take. So that we can build faster than any other blockchain. We can have more developer experiences and start to realize what these things will look like beyond the demo, beyond the pitch deck, and start testing these use cases in real world applications.
I'll start with a spicy take. The world does not need a blockchain specific, an AI blockchain. Doesn't make sense. Is one. Two, the whole internet is going to have to be rewritten in a formally verified version of Rust because AI will essentially exploit every vulnerability on the internet. And we're going to need to formally verify the internet, and humans aren't going to be able to do that. And so we're going to need agents or other. It's like we're going to need such amazing reasoning models to create math proofs proving that your software is safe. That is actually when Near got started back in 2017. The co-founder is still working towards this, one of them. It's not the main focus. Don't think of Near as this until it works. And then two, the most important thing like today that we're shipping is something called agentic protocols. And agentic protocols are where you can actually it's essentially like smart contracts 2.0, where your smart contract can call an LLM and that can run inside of a TE to verify the actions of an agent and sort of expand the use case of that smart contract. And so there's going to be like a lot more about this, specifically in the world of oracles, because oracles are very untrusted for the most part, or like we have to trust a central party. Shade agents and agentic protocols, they're kind of one and the same, and they'll be rebranded at some point, are a way to ensure verifiability within smart contract interactions beyond what exists today and enabling them to call LLMs, which is kind of a big deal. This is going to grow more and more. And hopefully you guys stick around to learn more about that.
Yeah, I think my spicy take would be provable inference is going to be the next block space. So when we talk about on-chain AI, if we get to the point where there is massive, participation in on-chain AI, provable inference is going to be block space. So most people, talk about TPS, latency, throughput, all these things. Most of the chains are not really looking at inferencing. So my narrative, or what I'm actually very much focused on for the next 6 to 12 months at least, is how do we do inferencing the right way, the fastest and the cheapest way, and I think that's the new block space. Yeah. And what was the second part?
A recent product or feature?
Recent product. Okay, so we have the AI versus agent launchpad coming out where you'll get to mint the NFTs as well. We also have upcoming Galaxy Quests with 30 to 35 of the best dApps building on 0G. So stay tuned. It's launching, I think, next week. Would love for you guys to try out some of the applications that these brilliant developers are deploying on 0G. We have automated AI agents, we have DeFi yield protocols, aggregators, all these type of things. It's going to be super interesting and super cool.
I think the next hot take is going to be more on the model explainability, both in Web 2 or maybe in Web 3. So in Web 2, definitely like everyone is working towards, trying to figure out the model explainability. Right, recently Google wrote a lot of papers around that, and then like a couple of interesting professors wrote a lot of papers around that. Still, like it is not practically possible. Like for all the use cases, there are some possibilities are there. It is naturally evolving. Once we're able to figure out the model more explainable, then that will really going to change a lot of use cases. And because the problem with Web2 companies don't want to pay for this data to anyone, even though they try to able to break through the technology, they will not try to implement and give a transparency on how much we are using and what kind of revenue we're making and everything, right? If I take an example of Google AdWords and Google AdSense kind of program, like still we never know, right? We pay for Google AdWords, but we know actually how much they charge and then how much we get, and like it is always a black box, right? So always like they try to keep it black box. So but Web3 companies can play some role. But if you're able to figure out this technology of data attribution, and then like we can give a explainability and give a rewarding system, I think that can be an interesting breakthrough on Web3 is what I feel. Like updates about our product, yeah, the data attribution launch that is going to do very soon. Like we are going for a mainnet in mostly in 10 days, so we are working towards that. Yeah, then we have a fine tuning tools, and then like data pipelining tools and everything. So I think we're going to launch completely a full product without. Maybe we have to figure out the roadmap. I think we've developed almost everything. We're going to come up everything on the mainnet. Yeah.
All right. Thank you to our speakers for wonderful insights. Hope we've learned a thing or two today. And that concludes the end of our panel.